Hi, it's time for a re-whitening video. I haven't made a re-whitening video in a really long time. So I was doing some grills for a customer. He's refurbishing and restoring a NuTone model 2090 system from 1972. Along with the master station, he sent me his 6 inside remote stations, and we re-whitened them and going to touch up the highlighting and so forth on them. And I did a video about that previously, and I'll put one of those pop-ups up here so you can go see that if you're interested. Since I had the whitening tank set up and it's still warmed up from whitening over the last 24 hours, I thought I would try an experiment. And this is something we haven't done before. And when you offer to do re-whitening for people, you have to be fairly certain that the outcome will be acceptable, it won't ruin the customer's equipment, and figure out the correct steps for each different model of faceplate or plastic that you're doing, so you can repeat it over and over and over again and predict what the end result will be. This is a faceplate from even though it says Broan, it's actually a music and sound model MC350A, not to be confused with the MC350. It's a different model altogether. This is the A version that came out later on. And when this was brand new, this was white. And to give you some idea of how white it was, I looked through everything that I had, and the closest I can come to the original white is this. This is a speaker grill for a music and sound model NR8P ceiling, or wall speaker I suppose, in white, and this is from the same era as this. This is a new old stock one that was in a box. We've taken the speaker cone off of it for other uses, and I have the grill left over. And while I don't know for certain that this was absolutely this color when it was brand new, it does give you some idea as a comparison of what it most likely was like when it was new, and now it's easy to see how discolored it actually is. Pretty awful, huh? The other thing which we're going to take a quick look at is, I picked this one because it's a good example of even discoloring. It's kind of yellowed everywhere except for this strip right down here. This is some sort of plastic label, something that somebody put on here, and then they put printouts of the room names over on top of it. This has to come off. I don't know what it's going to be like underneath. It could be that it's just as yellowed as the rest, or it could be that this was applied when the system was first installed and it has covered it up, the base plastic altogether, and underneath it will be much whiter. So let's get it set up. This has to come off. If this ruins it, it ruins it. You know, there is a certain amount of trial and error on re-whitening, and there are units that you do sacrifice as you figure out how to do it, and this could be that, or it could turn out really great. I don't know. We'll find out at the end. So let me move the camera around, and let's get this strip off of here. All right, so here's the strip that we're going to remove. Let me get my magnifier so I can actually see what I'm doing here, and we're just going to use, this is sort of a flat X-Acto knife blade, which should scoot underneath it pretty well. As you can see, it does. It may scratch the heck out of the plastic underneath it, I don't know. Not too concerned. So that will come off eventually. There we go. Now it looks like it's white underneath, but there is all kinds of like sticky residue from the adhesive. And when you do re-whitening, you can't have anything on the plastic itself. You can't have paint, you can't have sticky residue, and fortunately, whatever kind of adhesive this is, it comes off pretty well with just a regular drugstore alcohol pad. Let me get another one. These alcohol, what does it say, prep pad. Buy these at Walgreens, CVS, whatever your local drugstore of choice is. These are an invaluable tool here in the shop. People, I don't think necessarily know that alcohol is a really good cleaner. It can dissolve things, it can clean stuff off, it can remove little specks of latex paint from when you painted around your intercom and didn't cover it up. All kinds of things. And apparently it works pretty well on sticker adhesive also. These are inexpensive. When I buy these, I buy them at our local Walgreens because that's usually, or at our local Walmart, that's good too. And when I buy them, usually they come in boxes of like 100, I think. And I usually buy 3 or 4 boxes of them at least because, as you can tell, they're small, they're inexpensive, and you can use a lot of them. It's great. All right, so all the adhesive is off. It's pretty clean, and the byproduct of that now is this white underneath is the original white as compared to the yellowed on each side. There are these little strips of semi-yellowed, and that would have been the area in between the labels that they put on. So I guess it was semi more transparent for whatever reason. I don't know. Anyway, so more sunlight, more UV rays made it through in between and made it slightly discolored. So this is excellent for what we're going to be doing because now we have the original white, we have semi-yellowed, and then we have very yellowed. So I'm going to take this, I got to go scrub this. When you do the re-whitening, it's got all this grime and stuff on it, and that all has to be cleaned off. The chemicals in the re-whitening are not magic. They don't remove paint, they don't remove grunge from your fingers and stuff. They only re-whiten the plastic. So we want to try to make this the best we possibly can. So I'm going to clean this up, put it in the re-whitening tank. It will stay in there for anywhere from 24 to possibly 40 hours. And when it comes out, we'll clean it all up and we'll do the second part of this video. And you can see how it turns out. Remember, our test, our control here is the white grill from the ceiling speaker and also the strips here. So I'll see you in a day or 2 or 3. I don't know. Hi. This is sort of section 2 of the re-whitening video for the Music and Sound MC350A faceplate. First part you just watched. This will be the very first time I've ever shown what it looks like when it comes out of the whitening tank. So this is our whitening tank. It has 2 high voltage, high intensity ballast for the UV lamps inside the lid, which you've seen in other videos. There'll be a bunch of pop-ups for different videos you can watch, or perhaps a pop-up for the playlist for re-whitening. Anyway, the faceplate has been in the re-whitening tank for 22 hours, 37 minutes. And I checked this about halfway through and was suitably impressed with the results after half that amount of time. So go ahead and turn the lights off. I have to lift the lid up. It's very, very heavy. So it takes an effort to lift it up and also not drop it and not crash the tubes, which you might be able to see when I lift it out, and break them all. So off it goes. Sit it down over here. And you can see inside here, have to wear gloves because the chemicals, while they're rather strong, and if you get them on your skin, it will make like bleach spots on your skin. It doesn't really hurt you, but it's better not to do that. So first I'll just lift this out. So here's the faceplate, and because of the energy that's put into the chemicals from the UV lights, it sort of foams up and all that. So I use a paintbrush, or today I have a foam brush because I've got a bunch of them hanging around to use up. And we'll sort of brush off as much of this as we can and leave it in the whitening tank for the next victim, the next faceplate. That's pretty good. And now you can maybe see a little bit that it has turned a very nice white. What I'm going to do now is I have to take it, it has to be washed. I have to wash all the chemicals and everything off of it thoroughly and then let it dry. So that's the end of this section. The next time you see it, it'll be on the workbench. Hi, I'm back. This is section 3 of this video. So when we left off on section 2, you got to see me take the Music and Sound MC350A faceplate out of the rewhitening tank. And if you roll all the way back to section 1, you got to see the faceplate before we re-whitened it, and we compared it to this. This is the grill of a Music and Sound NR8P ceiling speaker, and that was sort of our test comparison item. This is new old stock, and probably is a good representation of the white that the MC350A would have been when it was new. So let's go ahead and do the reveal, and you can see how it turned out. And here is our newly re-whitened MC350A faceplate, and I think it turned out terrific. And to compare, you can always roll back to the first section when you got to see it before we started, and then come back to this point and see how it turned out. All in all, I was amazed. And I've done a lot of faceplate re-whitening, and this one truly turned out well. I would say that this is about as bright white as it probably was when it was brand new. The whitening in general went really well. One of the things that did happen is this label right here, it actually says Broan because this is the Broan version of a Music and Sound MC350A. This is a label that's applied to a little recessed area on the top of the grill. Part of it came loose because the adhesive had sort of melted or lost its adhesiveness, and that was easy enough to peel off, clean away the residue. Used a little 3M double-sided tape and stuck it back on, so that was simple to do. The other thing is, and I'll show you more up close, is some of the labeling for what the buttons are has faded out slightly, and that's a byproduct of the re-whitening chemicals. Some of it is better than others. And you have to remember, this is the very first test of one of these. So part of what may have happened is during the cleaning, it may have been cleaned too slightly aggressively, which means we scrubbed harder than we probably should have. And it may have scrubbed off a little bit of the darkness of the lettering, but it's all there and it's all perfectly readable, which is good. This area, which we'll zoom in a minute, has a little bit of an issue, but that's not from the re-whitening, that's from something before. In this close-up, this area along in here is where the plastic label sticker had been placed, and you watched me peel it off, and the area underneath the sticker was still the original white, and everything was discolored around it, which is a good way to judge how discolored it really actually was. I can tell you, and it may be a little hard to see in the video, you cannot really see where the area that was covered by the label is. It's all even now. One of the things you might be able to see is right here for switch number 9. These are for the room control switches for each remote station. Number 9, well, let's look at number 8. Number 8, you can see there's 4 lines, and they line up with the controls for intercom, radio, intercom, off, and monitor. Number 9, at least the 3 top lines are missing. The 4th line at the bottom is not too bad. This is not from the re-whitening. This is because there was a blob of gray latex wall paint. Obviously, someone painted the room around where the master was, and they got a drop of paint on it. And when I went to remove the paint, because the re-whitening doesn't get under the paint and it doesn't dissolve the paint, you have to get it off first. When I removed the paint, it removed some of the markings for the switch, but it is what it is. It's not a brand new replacement faceplate that was made 3 weeks ago. It's an original faceplate that's been restored back to its original color. And these are small things, little bit of wear and tear, you might say. I always tell customers it's what gives it character, because it has been in your house for a long time and it's gotten used, so it has a little bit of wear, but overall, I think it turned out really well. So now we have another tool in our tool belt. We can do re-whitening on Broan and Music and Sound MC350As, and most likely other models that are from the same era, because if you look at it reasonably, whatever company made the faceplate for Music and Sound back in those days probably made them for all the models, and they all tend to discolor, and now we have a way to solve that. You know, one of the stopping points for a lot of people is if you have an MC350A and it needs some amount of repair, primarily due to its age, but it's all yellow, discolored, and ugly, you're less inclined to actually fix it because, like, okay, great, it works again now, but it's all yellowed and ugly and we hate it. So this is a good way to get it back to a more acceptable look, and of course the bright white everybody likes. Hope you found this interesting, and perhaps for someone it will be helpful. If it is, give it a thumbs up on YouTube because that helps us just a little bit. There'll be a banner right here that shows you how to subscribe. Go to our YouTube homepage, click on the bell, and when you click on the bell, click on it to receive all notifications. And every time we post a new video, you'll get a notification and you can watch it. That's all for today. See you on the next video.